What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma if you're new here, and I love to talk about all things Peloton, cycling, and fitness. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I post every single Sunday, and today's video is very, very exciting. I'm going to be doing a 1-year update on my fitness / mostly Peloton journey. I started riding in late April of last year, so it has been just over a year. I also have done a 30-day update when I first started riding and then a 6-month update. I think that the 6-month update I watched recently and I pretty much agree with everything that I said in that. And then today I'm going to be going over more things that I've learned in the past 6 months. And then I'm also going to be downloading my Peloton data, showing you how you can do that. And then you can upload it onto this other website and you can see a bunch of cool things and kind of see your progress. And I think that's really cool, especially over such a long period of time. Because a year ago, obviously, I was way less fit. It's just crazy to see the improvement over time. And I feel like Peloton, even on the bike itself, doesn't do the best job of showing how you've improved over time, essentially. You have PRs, but that's basically it. So let's just get right on into it. So I pretty much ride 5 to 6 days a week, and I typically ride for an hour every time that I ride. I just hit 500 rides a week ago, so I've done 500 rides in about a year. And it definitely was a very big change. Before this, I was not exercising regularly, and this was kind of the big thing that got me into exercising. I really, really enjoyed cycling. I would say for the first 4 to 5 months, I saw a lot of weight loss. I was getting way stronger. I was PRing all the time. I was just having a really good time. Obviously, right when you first get into fitness, that's kind of where you see the biggest amount of weight loss. And then I would say once the 6-month mark happened to now, it's definitely more about maintaining my weight and trying to get stronger. I feel like the last 6 months has really highlighted how important dieting is to weight loss. You can work out all you want, but if you have a crap diet, it doesn't really matter. So definitely have been trying to choose healthier foods to eat, eating salads for lunch and not having huge desserts every day, even though that's definitely my favorite. Desserts are definitely my kryptonite. I feel like the last 6 months have really highlighted how important your diet is, and then also how important not cardio is. I always knew this, they always say don't just do cardio, but that's what I find the most enjoyable. If I could just cycle every single day for an hour, which is what I do pretty much, I'm really, really happy with that. So I've been trying to force myself to do strength classes, and I should be doing even more than I am, but I try to do 10 minutes every time I cycle. So I alternate between arms, core, and legs. But honestly, I don't stick to that always. If I'm not really feeling like it, then I still skip the strength. But even with only this little commitment, considering that I bike every day for 60 minutes, I can do 10 minutes of strength, I am starting to see improvement. I feel stronger, especially in my core and my arms, because I feel like my legs are already decently strong since I'm cycling, but definitely need to continue doing that going forward. And I would suggest if you kind of feel like you've hit a wall and you're not really seeing improvement and you're only doing cardio, the next natural step is to do weights and strength training. I'm excited for when things finally open up and I can go to a gym, because I feel like that could also kind of be more fun. Right now, I've just been doing the strength classes on Peloton, which are good, but I have limited weights here and they do feel repetitive sometimes. So to summarize, what I've learned in the past 6 months is diet is very important and strength training is very important. It's interesting to see how I'll feel in a year from now. I feel like at the 6-month mark, I was oh, I ride Peloton so much, I'm so fit, I lost all this weight, I'm the expert on fitness. And that's definitely not true. I keep learning things as this continues. So just always keep an open mind and let me know if you have any other tips. I'd love to hear them. So I thought it'd be cool to download my Peloton data and look at it, and then also show you how you can download yours, because I do think it has a lot of information. So basically you just log on to your Peloton account on the website, so onepeloton.com, and then you go to the workout page, and you can see just at the top when you're looking at all of your workouts, you have this download workouts option, which when you click on it, it just downloads the CSV to your computer. And then once it's downloaded, you can open it up. I think that it's not super easy to look at when it's just in Excel, unless if you want to do custom queries yourself. But it basically has every single class you've done. It has the instructor, the length of the class, what kind it is, cycling or strength. the type, which is kind of broken into very large segments in my opinion, like low impact is cool down, warm up, and low impact. The title of the ride, when the class was filmed, total output, average watts, average resistance, average cadence, average speed, distance, and calories burned. It has your average heart rate if you have a heart rate monitor, average incline, I'm guessing if you're on the treadmill, or average pace if it is some sort of running class. I don't have all the information for everything. First off, when I'm on the actual Peloton, I don't usually bother connecting my Apple Watch to the Peloton because it is just so difficult. So I don't have average heart rate for a lot of that stuff. And then also, I spend some of my time at my boyfriend's house riding his Peloton, which then it has all of the great information like the average resistance, average cadence, all of that stuff. But for the Echelon, when I ride it in San Francisco, I don't have any of that data. So it's just like blank for all of that essentially, which I think that it's still good information to have. Definitely the Peloton data is way more meaningful and you can actually see trends over time, which is cool. But it's also cool just to like have numbers like, oh, how many rides have you done by this instructor? So once you have these workouts downloaded, you can go to this website called Pelotrend.com. And it seems like it's just a user-generated website. I saw a post originally about it on Reddit, and you can just upload your workout data and then it will compute all of this information for you. So first it tells me my personal best for all of my different length classes. I think it's also really cool because it shows previous PRs. So you can see like, oh, the first time that I took a 60-minute ride was on April 28th, 391 days ago, and my output was 380. And then I went up to 432 only like 2 or 3 weeks later. And then like a month later, I went up 70 kilojoules, which is also crazy. Like I'm just killing my PRs as time goes by. But then you can see that it starts to taper off like 504, 520, 521, 546, which is what it currently is. So I think it's really cool to see your growth over time and that it lets you like click through all of this information. And it'll have it for every like ride length that you've taken. You can set up settings if you like want it to count 5-minute classes or not, or if you don't want it to count certain things, then it can filter those out. But I just want it to count for everything. It also has this graph that shows all of your PRs kind of mapped out. I don't think that this is super useful. It's kind of not intuitive in my opinion, but it is kind of cool, I guess. You can see that like obviously I have the highest average output for like the shortest class, and then as it gets longer, I'm still PRing, but I have less output because like I can't sustain the same amount of output for a 15-minute ride than a 90-minute ride. But I still think that this is like cool to look at, but I don't think it's that useful. And then there's ride comparison, which my ride comparisons look kind of bad right now because I'm on the Echelon. So I don't have a lot of the information like total output and stuff. I only have the information that the Peloton app has, which I'm surprised they don't have cadence because now that I use the like QZ app, it saves that, but it seems to only have average heart rate and calories here. So you can kind of just see my average heart rate, but you could set it to other rides and compare the differences if that's something that you'd be interested in. And then what I think is the coolest is the trend. Now, my trends are a little messed up because of the Echelon, so you can see these long periods where I'm not on the Peloton at all. But you definitely see from when I first started on April 26th, you can see a trend going up definitely from my output to the last time that I visited my boyfriend only a month ago. Like my average output on some of these days are like 160 to 180. And starting out, my average output was like 100 to 130, which is just absolutely crazy that I've increased my average output so much over the past year. So I think that that is really cool to look at and see. And what I think is also interesting is I can see that my average cadence isn't really increasing over time, but my resistance is. So I'm getting stronger and I can maintain the same pace while bringing up resistance, which is kind of what I think you would hope to happen. I guess I'm not getting any faster, but I'm still challenging myself and increasing my resistance over time. Then it has information about Power Zone FTP tests if you're interested in that. I personally really like Power Zone training. I haven't taken the FTP test in a while because I'm kind of dreading it. It's not a good time, but I probably should retake it. But I've only taken it twice, but you can see that the second time I took it, I got a 16 kilojoule total output increase, which is cool. And it shows that I went slower, but my resistance was way higher, which I think is interesting. For me, lower cadence and higher resistance has always been easier. So I feel like I just figured that out for the second power zone test. And for the power zone test in general, you're just supposed to have the highest output you possibly can. So like whatever that is for you, you do that. So I feel like between my two tests, I can see that I understood more how to get high output from me, and that is low cadence, high resistance. And then they also graph the FTP test scores. I only have 2, so it's not that exciting. And you can see I gave up on the heart rate monitor by the second time I took it. But I think if you took a bunch, it'd be really cool over time to see that increase. And then my favorite part is just a bunch of fun facts. And I'm really going to expose myself here. So it says I've cycled 1,700 miles, which I think that I've cycled more than that. I don't think that counts any of the echelon miles, but it says I have the most rides with Ben Aldis, and I've done 180 rides, which is kind of crazy when you think that I've only done 500 rides in total. But in my defense, I do a Ben Aldis cool down ride almost every day now. So I would assume at least like 120 of those are that. And then there is Alex Toussaint, which is 39 rides, which is interesting because I feel like I've really fallen off of Alex lately. I just haven't taken a ton by him. But there was a moment when I was obsessed with Club Banger rides. So I took so many. So I'm sure like 30 of those are Club Banger rides. Like I used to really like it. I still do. I need to take more Club Banger rides. And then we have good old Cody Rigsby at 32 rides. I also think it's interesting that all of my top instructors are men. I don't really know like why that would be the case. I feel like I take like an even amount. I'm surprised that Allie Love is not higher because I feel like I take a lot from her specifically, but I don't know, the data doesn't lie. So those are my top 3 instructors, I guess. And it says I burned 102,000 calories since my first day on the bike. That's crazy. That my most popular class type is low impact, which is 173 rides, which I suspect are mostly cool down and warm up rides. My earliest ride ever was at 6:05 a.m., which was just like this past weekend. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. and I couldn't fall back asleep. So I was like, you know what? Let's just hop on the bike at 6 a.m. and grind this ride out. And then it says my latest ride ever was 6:40 p.m., which yeah, that makes sense. I'm definitely not a late rider. I would prefer to pretty much always ride in the morning. My least popular class type is beginner. I took one beginner class. It was my first ride on the Peloton. I think it was advanced beginner. And then I was like, all right, I'm ready to take not beginner classes. I'm ready for the challenge. I have the most PRs with Ben Aldis, which makes sense. Mount Wilpers, which is interesting, but my theory is that I pretty much only take 75-minute or 90-minute rides with Matt Wilpers, so I'm probably PRing on those over and over again. And then Hannah Corbin, which is also interesting because I basically don't take Hannah at all anymore, but I took her a bunch at the beginning, which makes sense because I'm PRing a ton because I'm getting way stronger. So then it makes sense that I'm setting a lot of records with her. I've spent the most time with Ben Aldis, 37 hours. Pretty impressive. Alex Toussaint, 21 hours, also pretty impressive. So it's interesting that I've taken 140 more rides with Ben than Alex, but it's only like 16 hours of time because so many of those are 5-minute rides. And Matt Wilpers, which is 17 hours and 45 minutes, which is definitely because I take his longer rides. My first ever 5 rides average output was 100.2 watts. It's sad because my last 5 rides were on the echelon, so it's 0 watts, but it seems like my average watt output is like 150, 160 now, so it is crazy, the improvement. I've burned the most calories with Ben Aldis, Alex Toussaint, and Matt Wilpers, which makes sense. Your all-time live average output is 84 watts, and on demand is 64 watts. I think that is also messed up because of the echelon. My most popular class length is 30 minutes, which was 152 rides, which makes sense. I take a lot of 30-minute classes. Like I'll do 2 30 minutes back to back instead of like a 60-minute class because there's a lot more options for 30-minute classes. My least rides are with Irene Schultz and Eric Jaeger, which makes sense because they teach most of their stuff in German. And Jess Sims. I've taken a decent amount of Jess Sims strength classes, and she also does tread classes, and I really like her. I'm just not that into bike boot camp. I did try it out for a video, and it was fun. And maybe I should start doing them again because it does mix in the strength. But for me, I just want to ride when I ride. It's the same with arms and intervals. I feel like I'd rather just do a strength class and then do the biking portion separately than like combine them, because then I feel like both suffer when you try to do them at the same time. But that's just like a personal opinion. Your very first class was 394 days ago, so just over a year. Most traveled with Ben Aldis, Alex Toussaint, and Matt Wilpers, which again makes sense. I think that these are definitely the most fun facts. Like, I just enjoy knowing this, and I knew I took Ben a lot, and it's mostly the cool down rides. It'd be interesting if I could filter that out and see what my stats are without that, but I still definitely take Ben the most. He's definitely a fave. But that's it for this video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it and that you're all on your Peloton journeys. Let me know if you upload your data to this website, like what's the most fun or shocking fact about you? I would be very curious. I feel like mine's kind of just funny, just because there's a lot of Ben, but that's pretty much it. And that's not really a surprise to me. But I'm excited to have hit the 1 year mark and the 500 rides. And I'm excited to keep riding this next year and hopefully hit 1,000 rides. That would be really cool. I feel like when I hear somebody that gets a shout out for 1,000 rides, I'm very, very shocked. I'm like, wow, they must be so fit and so dedicated to this. I hope you guys are staying safe, having an awesome week, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!